wasn't until I got clean that I started to connect emotionally to the roles, which was, the first role that I ever did, substance-free, was Jungle Fever.
Even legends get nervous. And just moments ago, one of Hollywood's toughest actors, Sylvester Stallone, admitted he was scared. He was scared of one man, Samuel L. Jackson. The reason why is shaking up the entire industry. Jackson is making a move that no one saw coming, and the story behind it reveals a life of struggle and survival that proves the truth is always more shocking than fiction. A new king is crowned.
Another awesome player this year, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh.
The news is that Samuel L. Jackson is joining the hit show Tulsa King for its third season. This show is part of a huge television empire built by Taylor Sheridan, the man behind Yellowstone. Sheridan's world is known for attracting the biggest movie stars. He has brought legends like Kevin Costner, Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, and Nicole Kidman to the small screen. Now he is adding one of the highest-grossing actors of all time to his lineup. But Jackson is not just joining the cast. He is getting his own kingdom. His role in Tulsa King is just the beginning. It is a setup for his very own show, a spin-off called Nola King. For the first time in his long and legendary career, Samuel L. Jackson will be the main star of his own television series. He will play a man named Russell Lee Washington, Jr. The story sounds like it was written for Jackson himself. Russell is a former criminal, a hitman who once befriended Sylvester Stallone's character, Dwight Manfredi, during a 10-year stay in federal prison. But now, he is being sent by the New York crime family to take Dwight out for good. But the story takes a turn. The official description says that Russell gets inspired by what Dwight built in Tulsa. He sees a chance for a new beginning, a second chance at life. So he returns to his hometown of New Orleans, a city he left behind 40 years ago. He goes back to reconnect with his family and friends. But he also goes back to take control of the city's criminal underworld. This move makes him a target. His old bosses in New York are angry, and old enemies in New Orleans, both criminals and police, are waiting for him. This new show is a massive project. Jackson is not just the star. He is also an executive producer, working alongside Taylor Sheridan and Sylvester Stallone. Production is expected to start in February 2026. This is not a small step for a movie star. It is a giant leap. At 76 years old, Samuel L. Jackson is not slowing down. He is taking on a new challenge, leading a new franchise, and becoming the king of his own show. But what does the current king of the show, Sylvester Stallone, think about this? His reaction is where our story truly begins. A legend's fear.
We've known each other a long time, but I was always hoping we'd get to work together, but he's such a big star and he has such an agenda himself.
In a recent interview with People magazine, Stallone made a shocking confession. He admitted that when he heard Samuel L. Jackson was joining the cast of Tulsa King, he felt a real sense of pressure. He was genuinely nervous. What were his exact words? He said, "When I heard that was going to happen, I went, oh, this is going to be a fist fight. This is going to be a battle." He compared it to two boxers getting into a ring, wondering who was going to throw the first punch. Imagine that. The man who created Rocky felt like he was about to go into a real fight just by having to act with Samuel L. Jackson. Stallone said he was nervous because he was dealing with serious competition. He praised Jackson's powerful presence, calling it a relaxed confidence that takes years to develop. This is an incredible thing to hear from an actor of his status. These two men are giants of Hollywood. In fact, Stallone revealed that they have been neighbors for decades. They lived just 100 yards from each other for almost 30 years, but because of their busy schedules, they never worked together until now. After all that time, their first time on screen together felt like a showdown to Stallone. Stallone also talked about why he thinks both he and Jackson are now leading their own TV shows. He said that at this age, you want to be more grounded and have a show where you can really develop a character over time instead of just doing a small part in a movie for a few days. What happened when the two titans finally met on set? Stallone said all that tension disappeared the moment Jackson walked in. He said, "But now we're good. We're flowing." They got along so well that Stallone joked they could do a show called Tulsa King and Buddy. But that first feeling, that initial fear, tells a deeper story. It raises a very important question. What has Samuel L. Jackson lived through to make a man like Sylvester Stallone feel nervous? What battles has he fought in his real life that give him such a powerful presence? To find the answer, we have to look at the moments that almost broke him, the moments that forged the man we see today. And the first one happened on a cold day in New York City, a day he almost did not survive. The fight for life he almost lost.
I have had it with these fucking snakes on this fucking plane.
Long before he was Nick Fury or Jules Winfield, Samuel L. Jackson was a struggling actor in New York City. And in December 1988, just a few days before Christmas, he faced a real-life horror scene that was more terrifying than any movie. He was 40 years old at the time. It started as a simple act of kindness. He was on a subway platform and stopped to help a woman who had dropped something. As he helped her, the doors of the A train started to close. He tried to get on, but one of his feet got trapped in the door. And then, the train started to move. In an instant, Jackson was in a fight for his life. He was being dragged along the cold, hard platform by a speeding subway train. He said he could see the dark opening of the tunnel getting closer and closer. He knew if he hit that tunnel, it would be over. In that moment, he thought to himself, "Oh, fee, I'm going to die." What goes through your mind when you are facing death? Many people say their life flashes before their eyes. But Jackson said that did not happen to him. Instead, he had a very clear and heartbreaking thought. He thought about how it was just a few days before Christmas and his birthday, which is on December 21st. His only thought was it was going to be a really sad Christmas. He was not thinking about himself. He was thinking about how his death would ruin the holidays for his family. He said in moments like that, everything slows down. You see what is happening, but you are helpless to stop it. As he was being dragged toward the tunnel, something amazing happened. The train began to slow down, and then it stopped. Someone inside the train had pulled the emergency cord. But who was this hero? Jackson would not find out until years later, during a lawsuit against the New York Transit Authority. He learned that the man who saved his life was on crutches. While everyone else was panicking and trying to pry the doors open, this man made his way to the emergency cord and pulled it, saving Jackson's life just in time. He survived, but he was badly hurt. He had a torn ACL and meniscus in his knee. He had to spend the next 10 months on crutches and went through more than a year of painful physical therapy to learn how to walk properly again. He later sued the Transit Authority and was awarded $540,000 for his injuries and suffering. This experience shows a man who can stay calm under the most extreme pressure. But this was not the first time he had faced down a dangerous situation. His willingness to confront powerful forces started much earlier when he was a young man forged in the segregated South. The man who held a button, me, hostage.
I'm a college graduate. I'm a father, a husband, a son. I'm a good person with all that. I'm a citizen. I pay my taxes. I've never been arrested.
The intensity that Sylvester Stallone felt on set was not born in Hollywood. It was forged in the fire of a divided America. Samuel L. Jackson was born in 1948 and grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was a world of whites-only signs and deep injustice. His father was absent for his entire life, dying from alcoholism after Jackson had only met him twice. He was raised by a village of strong women, his mother, his grandmother, and his aunt, while his grandfather taught him how to survive. His family pushed him to succeed. His aunt, a teacher, taught him to read when he was only 2 years old. But they also had to teach him the harsh rules of a racist society. He remembers being 5 years old and whistling at a white girl. For that, he got a beating from his mother, his aunt, and his grandmother. They were trying to protect him, to teach him how to stay alive in a world that was dangerous for a young black boy who was not afraid. He said he grew up with a lot of anger inside him from being suppressed. He remembered kids on the bus yelling racial slurs at him, and there was nothing he could do about it. Even the movie theater, a place he loved, was a reminder of the injustice. He recalled watching a movie where a scene of a black actor slapping a white woman was cut out so it would not give black audiences any ideas. That anger would eventually need a voice. The turning point came in 1968. Jackson was a student at Morehouse College in Atlanta when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. The event shook the nation, and it changed Jackson forever. He served as one of the ushers at Dr. King's funeral. Soon after, he flew to Memphis to join a protest march. He felt that peaceful protests were no longer enough. He said, "I knew that change was going to take something different." A year later, in 1969, he took that belief to an extreme level. Jackson and a group of other students at Morehouse were frustrated. They felt the college was not preparing them for the real world. They wanted a Black Studies program and more black members on the Board of Trustees. Jackson felt Morehouse was trying to create politically correct Negroes and was more proud of Dr. King being a preacher than a civil rights leader. When their demands were ignored, they decided to take matters into their own hands. They locked the members of the Board of Trustees in a building on campus and held them hostage. And who was one of those board members? It was Martin Luther King Sr., the father of the slain civil rights leader. For a day and a half, Samuel L. Jackson was part of a group holding Dr. King's father hostage. They only let him go after about 6 hours when he started having chest pains. The students did not back down until the college agreed to their demands, but this act had serious consequences. Jackson was charged with and convicted of unlawful confinement, a second-degree felony. He was expelled from Morehouse and suspended for 2 years. During his time away from school, he became even more involved in the Black Power movement, working with leaders like Stokely Carmichael. His activism became so serious that the FBI took notice. One day, FBI agents visited his mother's house. They warned her that if her son did not leave Atlanta, he would likely be dead within a year. Terrified, his mother put him on a plane to Los Angeles to save his life. This was a man willing to risk everything for what he believed in. But while he was fighting these public battles, he was also fighting a secret war inside himself, a war that almost destroyed him completely. The brink of collapse.
That's what we did. We would drink, we would rehearse, we would smoke reefer and rehearse. We drank at half hour and we sat around and we got ready to do.
He was fighting a losing battle with drug and alcohol addiction. The problem started when he was just 15, but it got much worse when he moved to New York in the late 1970s with the love of his life, LaTanya Richardson. He and LaTanya met in college. He was at Morehouse, and she was at the sister school, Spelman. They were both part of the theater group and shared a passion for acting and activism. They dated for 10 years before getting married in 1980. Early in their relationship, they made a pact. They decided that the most revolutionary thing a black couple could do was to stay together and raise a family, no matter what. That promise would soon be tested in the most extreme way. In New York, Jackson found work in the theater, performing alongside future stars like Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington. But he also found himself with too much time on his hands. He started a routine of drinking and using drugs, which slowly spiraled out of control. The addiction took a heavy toll on his life. He has admitted that during that time, he was not the husband or father he should have been to LaTanya and their young daughter Zoe. He described himself as being kind of crazy back then. He was a functioning addict, always showing up to work on time and knowing his lines, but his personal life was falling apart. His world finally came crashing down in 1991. After a bachelor party, he came home late at night with cocaine. He went to the kitchen to cook the drug, but passed out on the floor before he could finish. That is where his wife and his 8-year-old daughter found him, unconscious on the kitchen floor. This was his rock bottom. LaTanya had seen enough. She had been his support system for years, but this was the final straw. She gave him an ultimatum. He had to go to rehab, or she and their daughter would be gone. Within 24 hours of that night, Samuel L. Jackson checked into a rehabilitation clinic. He has now been sober for over 30 years. He often says that his wife gave him the chance to become the man he was always supposed to be. What happened next is truly incredible. Just as he was finishing rehab, his life changed forever. He got a phone call from the famous director Spike Lee. Lee wanted him for a role in his new movie, Jungle Fever. And what was the role? He was asked to play a crack cocaine addict. Jackson later said the role was cathartic, meaning it helped him heal. It was the first time he had ever performed completely sober. He poured all of his pain and experience into that performance. The result was electrifying. His acting was so powerful and so real that the 1991 Cannes Film Festival created a special Supporting Actor Award just for him because they felt he deserved to be recognized. That role, born from his darkest moment, was the breakthrough he had been waiting for. It launched his career into the stratosphere. He had to lose everything to finally find success. He had to conquer the demons inside him before he could conquer Hollywood. But his first battle, the one that shaped his entire life, started long before in the quiet moments of his childhood. The voice roars forged in silence.
I have today's forecast for you. Hot!
Every great actor has a powerful voice, but Samuel L. Jackson's iconic voice, the one that can command a room or strike fear into his enemies on screen, was born from silence. As a child, Jackson had a severe stutter. It was so bad that he was bullied by other kids, and for a time, he almost stopped speaking entirely for a whole year. Growing up in Tennessee in the 1950s, he felt different and alone. How did he cope with this challenge? He found a way to escape. He learned to pretend to be other people who didn't stutter. Without knowing it, he was teaching himself how to act. It was a survival mechanism that would one day become his profession. His aunt also took him to a speech therapist to help him deal with it. But he also discovered something else, a strange and powerful tool to control his speech. He found a word that could break through the stuttering blocks and allow him to speak freely. That word was motherfucker. He has explained that the word works like a reset button. When he feels a stutter coming, he can use that word to break the loop in his brain and finish his sentence. To this day, he still has what he calls stuttering days, days where the old problem comes back. On those days, he has trouble with certain letters like G, P, B, or S. And he still relies on that word to get through. What started as a secret weapon for a scared little boy became the signature of a global superstar. The word that is now famous in movies like Pulp Fiction and Snakes on a Plane was not just a cool line in a script. It was a lifeline. Think about that for a moment. The very thing that defines his tough guy persona, the word that makes him sound so confident and powerful, came from a place of deep vulnerability. His greatest perceived weakness His stutter became the source of his greatest strength, his unforgettable voice. Every time we hear him deliver one of his famous lines, we are actually witnessing the result of a lifelong battle to be heard. This journey, from a silent boy to a man with one of the most recognized voices in the world, is a testament to his incredible will to overcome any obstacle. The hardest working man in Hollywood.
English, do you speak it?
Yes.
Then you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Describe what Marcellus Wallace looks like.
Before we get back to the new King of New Orleans, we have to talk about how he built his empire. Samuel L. Jackson is not just a movie star. He is an industry. He is officially the highest-grossing actor of all time. The movies he has appeared in have made over $27 billion at the box office worldwide. He has been in over 150 films, a number that is almost impossible to believe. How did he do it? He has a work ethic that is second to none. He treats acting like a job. He shows up, he does the work, and he moves on to the next one. This relentless drive is what made him a Hollywood legend. But it was one specific role and one very intense audition that changed everything. After his award-winning performance in Jungle Fever, Jackson's career started to build. But the role that made him a global superstar was Jules Winfield in Quentin Tarantino's masterpiece, Pulp Fiction. But he almost did not get the part. Tarantino had written the role of Jules specifically for Jackson. Jackson did an initial reading and thought the job was his. But then he heard that another actor, Paul Calderon, had given an amazing audition and was about to get the part instead. Jackson was angry and tired, but he got on a plane and flew to Los Angeles for one last chance. When he got to the audition, he was hungry, so he bought a burger and a drink on the way. When he walked in, one of the producers made a huge mistake. He looked at Jackson and said, "I love your work, Mr. Fishburne," confusing him with the actor Lawrence Fishburne. That was the last straw. Jackson was furious. He took all of that anger, that hunger, and that exhaustion and poured it into the audition. The producers said he walked in, sipping his shake and biting his burger, and his eyes were popping out of his head. They said they were scared of him. He was no longer acting. He was Jules. He delivered the lines with a fire that they had never seen before. When he was done, he slammed the script down and walked out. He got the part. That performance earned him an Oscar nomination and made him a household name. It was a moment that proved once again that Samuel L. Jackson turns pressure and anger into pure power. The crowning of the NOLA King.
I never did one thing right in my life, you know that? Not one. That takes skill.
Now, let's go back to the news that started it all. Samuel L. Jackson is starring in a new show called NOLA King. We know the story. A man named Russell Lee Washington, Jr., a veteran of the criminal world, returns to his hometown of New Orleans after being away for 40 years. He comes back to take control, to claim what he believes is his. The official description of the show says that Russell is impressed with the possibilities of second chances. That phrase, second chances, is the key to understanding everything. Because this new role is not just a job for Samuel L. Jackson. It is a mirror of his own life. He is Russell Lee Washington, Jr. He is the man who has come back from the edge time and time again. He got a second chance after he was expelled from college and nearly lost his future. He got a second chance after a terrifying subway accident almost took his life. And most importantly, he got a second chance after a long and painful battle with addiction almost cost him his family and his career. His entire life has been a series of second chances, of fighting back from impossible situations. Now, at this stage in his career, he is playing a character whose story is about taking that final second chance to become a king. It is the perfect role, because he has already lived it. The story of Nola King is the story of Samuel L. Jackson. So when you hear that Samuel L. Jackson is breaking the news, it is about more than just a new TV show. It is the final chapter in a long story of survival. It is the story of a man who fought for his voice, fought for his beliefs, and fought for his life. He has faced down death, defied the authorities, and conquered his own demons. And now, he is finally being crowned.